Wolverine, Enemy of the State is best described as a big, stupid 90s action movie with claws. In the story, we see Wolverine brainwashed and working alongside classic enemies, the Hand and Hydra, as he goes to battle with Marvel heroes such as Spider-Man and Captain America. And in an alternate future where he's never deprogrammed, we learn he killed many of these heroes. The Clawed Canuck is one of the best comic book characters for this type of storyline. He can fall into berserker rages where his more feral side is at the forefront, plus he's armed to the teeth even when without weapons. Has some of the best training in the Marvel Universe thanks to over a century of combat experience, and that healing factor means that even a killing blow may not be enough to take him down. Over the years, this combination of factors has led to Logan facing some incredibly powerful foes and having no other choice than to permanently end them. I am Kirsten from What Culture, and these are 10 of the most powerful characters killed by Wolverine. Number 10, Lady Deathstrike. Professor Kenji Oyama was a Japanese scientist who created the adamantium bonding process that Weapon X used to coat Logan's bones with the unbreakable alloy. A kamikaze pilot during World War II, he felt intense shame when he fell to die after his plane exploded. Rather than seeking therapy, he ritually scarred the faces of his children and became a criminal under the alias Lord Darkwind. Kenji's own daughter, Yuriko, later killed him in revenge for the death of her brothers and the scarification. Thus began Yuriko's own turn towards the dark side, as she sought to right the wrongs done to her father that had turned him into a monster over the years. One of those wrongs was the theft of the adamantium bonding process, which led to the newly named Lady Deathstrike starting a lifelong feud with Wolverine for being the recipient of the alloy. She also hunts adamantium stockpiles all over the world. A version of Yuriko appears in the 2002 film X-Men 2, appearing as a brainwashed mutant with similar powers to Wolverine. In this one though, ironically, Wolverine kills her by pumping her with more adamantium than she can handle, literally filling it up to her eyeballs in probably one of the most gruesome deaths of the whole movie. Number 9, himself. When a virus from a microverse diminished his healing powers, a lot of enemies seemed to crawl out from the woodworks, all aiming to defeat Logan once and for all, so it didn't take him long to realise that he had a bounty on his head. His investigation eventually led him to Dr. Abraham Cornelius, one of the key players in the Weapon X program that gave Wolvie his adamantium. Attempting to replicate the process, Cornelius found the one missing element was Wolverine's healing factor. Finding that had gone, Cornelius attempted to escape by activating the adamantium bonding process on 3 of his experimental subjects. Logan, knowing they'd die without his ability, slashed open the tanks to stop the adamantium and was covered in the liquid metal from head to toe. Pursuing Cornelius, he killed the man who'd put him through so much torment and reflected on the life he'd led. Kneeling in the sunset, the adamantium that once made him unbreakable slowly hardened, suffocating poor Wolverine to death. Number 8, Daken. The Dark Wolverine Daken first appeared in the 2007 issue The Wolverine Origins. Son to deceased mother Itsu and Logan, Daken is the personification of daddy issues. Intelligent, manipulative, and a wee bit psychotic, Daken has a lot more in common with his father's worst enemy, Sabretooth, than he does with the Canuck. Animal-like senses, bone claws, and a healing factor that is far more powerful than his father's make Daken an easy match for Logan. While commanding X-Force, Logan is drawn into a battle against his son. Throughout the battle, we see flashes of another life where Wolverine and Itzo live happily together and raise Daken properly. But Logan knows that this isn't the real world and that Daken is a sick animal that needs to be put down. He apologises to his son for not being there when it mattered most and slowly drowns him in a shallow puddle. Number 7, Sabretooth. Sabretooth is such a dark mirror to Wolverine and is so closely tied to him in storylines that it's a shock for many fans to realise that he was actually created as a recurring villain for Iron Fist. And yet Victor Creed is so similar in powers to Wolverine that fans long theorised he was Logan's real father. Throughout their long lives, the two have been thrown together by fate time and time again, often as antagonists but sometimes as friends and partners. Bigger, stronger and far more animalistic than Logan, Creed regularly hunted him down and tore his life apart at the seams. When that primal side finally took over fully, it was Wolverine who hunted Sabretooth down. Wielding the Muramasa blade, a katana that disrupts healing factors, Logan finally put an end to his long-time tormentor and was left wondering if anyone could ever do the same for him if he's ever reduced to such a feral state. Number 6. The Hulks. Wolverine was introduced in the last panel of the Hulk 180, where he spent most of the next issue trying to tear the green guy apart, until they finally teamed up to take on the cannibalistic Wendigo. Sadly, as most fans know, team-ups in the years since have rarely been forthcoming, with the two preferring to fight the other more often these days. One such fight takes place in Mark Millar and Steve McNiven's Old Man Logan, a comic that takes place in an apocalyptic future where most of the world's heroes have fallen, and what remains of the United States has been split into territories controlled by supervillains. The first villain readers run into are the Hulk Gang, who are the incestuous cannibalistic grandchildren of a morally challenged Hulk and his cousin She-Hulk. I'll just let that horror sink in for a moment. The Logan we meet has made a vow never to pop his claws again, and so he lives in subservience to the Hulk Gang. After leaving on a trip to gain rent money, Logan returns to find that his wife and children had been killed by the Hulks. After slaughtering every Hulk child, Logan and Banner face off one final time. Logan is easily beaten and then devoured by the Hulk, but he heals within his stomach and then explodes out of the evil green giant in an explosion of green blood. Number 5. Omega Red. Russian serial killer Arkady Gregovich Rossovich was captured and enrolled in a 1960s KGB project to create a Russian super soldier that could take on Captain America. Already a mutant with enhanced speed, strength and durability, as well as the ability to produce pheromones that poisoned those too close to him, the experiments left Arkady with carbonadium, a weaker but more malleable form of adamantium, tentacles that implanted into his arms, and a big problem. The carbonadium was slowly poisoning him, and he had to use the tentacles to drain the life force of others to simply keep his nervous system working. The carbonadium synthesizer, a device that could stabilize this condition, was stolen by the CIA's mutant covert ops group Team X in the first meeting between Arkady and Wolverine. Years later, after being put into suspended animation when the Soviets lost all trust for him, Omega Red was awoken and immediately began hunting members of Team X in search of the device that could cure him of his only weakness. In a final encounter that Red has miraculously since recovered from, Wolverine drove the Miramasa blade through Arkady's heart. Number 4. Unnamed New Mutant. In the X-Men comics, there has been arguments for and against mutants being cured. Famously, Storm, who can control the weather and has been worshipped as a goddess, cannot understand why anyone would want to be cured. But the X gene is a capricious thing, as likely to turn teenagers into monsters who can have no normal life as it is to create beings of incredible power. In Ultimate X-Men 41, we see an example of both when a boy hits puberty and his mutation activates. As he goes through his day encountering normal teenage problems, we see people starting to burn up around him. Eventually, his schoolmates and girlfriend burn in front of his eyes, and the boy goes into hiding in a cave. It's here that Wolverine, the only person who can get close to the kid thanks to his healing factor, finds him and shares a beer with him while explaining that the 265 deaths from this mutant's awakening will be covered up as a chemical leak, and then Logan completes his mission. In the morning, Wolverine steps out of the cave alone and into a safer world. Number 3. Jean Grey. If you've ever heard of the saying love is pain, then spare a thought for Logan. In the very few moments of his long life where he hasn't been feral, he's managed to come across a few groups that have accepted him enough for him to accept himself. And in those groups has been a woman in which he has come to fall in love with, who unfortunately meets a very tragic end. With the X-Men, that woman was Jean Grey. At first the object of a forbidden fruit passion thanks to her relationship with Scott Summers, Logan soon found respect for the woman and the combination turned to love. But you know what they say love is. Wolvie first killed Jean in New X-Men number 148 to save her from the agony of burning alive while on an asteroid heading into the sun. As Jean and Death have a kind of revolving door arrangement, mostly brought on by her connection to the Phoenix Force, she got better and was subsequently killed by Wolverine again another 6 or 7 times. Even in the film versions, Wolverine is seen ramming his claws into Jean's torso to end the Dark Phoenix. Number 2. Moira MacTaggert. Long thought to be a human scientist that allied with the mutants after an affair with Xavier, it's actually revealed that Moira MacTaggert was a mutant herself, with a pretty amazing ability. She is able to reincarnate herself after she dies from the moment of conception. Around 13 years old, when her mutant abilities begin to manifest, she regains all memories of her previous lives and is able to use that knowledge to change the future and rewrite fate itself. In a future where she joined with Apocalypse in building a mutant army who would would rise against the humans, humanity fought back with Sentinels led by the seemingly unkillable Super Sentinel Nimrod. With the last few mutants on a suicide mission to take Nimrod down, Apocalypse sent Wolverine away from the final battle. Finding Moira in a stasis pod, Logan used a device of Apocalypse's design to upload the information of Nimrod's origins into her mind, so that they have a fighting chance of stopping this future from ever coming to pass. And then, after completing a plan that she had spent one of her lifetimes on, Wolverine kills her so that she can take that knowledge into the past and protect the mutant race. Number 1. All of the X-Men. At the start of Old Man Logan, we learn that he won't fight the Hulks because of something that happened in his past. We later learn that he hasn't actually popped his claws since the villains attacked the X-Men and Logan was the last survivor. It's only much later that we learn what truly happened that night to break Wolverine's spirit. The villains did attack, and Wolvie went into one of his berserker rages, slashing all that he saw and slaughtering those who were trying to hurt his teammates, except that wasn't what happened at all. Did you really think you could do this alone? Take down 40 supervillains? Talk about delusions of grandeur. But your friends, people who would hesitate, that's a different matter entirely. Mysterio, the master of illusions, had tricked even Logan's enhanced senses to make him see his allies as the attacking enemies. Not only that, but the master of illusions even managed to make them feel and smell different. And as they begged him to stop, Wolverine stabbed each and every one of his friends through the heart. And that's our list of 10 of the most powerful characters killed by Wolverine. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. But for now, I have been Kirsten from What Culture, and I will see you in the next video.